At a press conference on Tuesday, January the 7th, at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump doubled down in commenting on his imperialistic plans to expand his U.S. empire to include Greenland, Canada, Mexico, Central America. Mark my words, this is just step one in Antichrist Trump's global ambitions to rule the entire world. That ambition begins with consolidating the North American and Central American dominion, which is one of the 10 world regions set forth by the United Nations years ago. Here is Tuesday's story from Trump's Mar-a-Lago news conference, as reported by CBC News, Canada's public news service. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday said he would use, quote, economic force to join Canada and the U.S. together. Quoting Trump, Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of the artificially drawn line and you take a look at what it looks like, and it would be much better. So Trump is saying that the borderline between Canada and the United States is an artificially drawn line, not a real borderline, but an artificially drawn line. Trump made the remarks the day after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation as Prime Minister. Now, why did Trudeau resign just as Trump is coming into office as President of the United States? I believe Trudeau realizes that Trump is a dictatorial madman, the rising world disruptor, and Trudeau chooses not to fight any longer. In his resignation speech, Trudeau said he is a fighter, and I think that was cover for the fact that he no longer has the stomach to fight the madness that is coming. At his news conference on Tuesday, Trump again spoke favorably about Canada becoming, quote, the 51st state. And Trump criticized Americans purchasing Canadian goods. Quote, we don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything they have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties. Trump said he was not considering military force to seize Canada, but remarkably, Trump declined to rule out military force to take back control of the Panama Canal and to acquire the Danish territory of Greenland. Quoting Trump, no, I can't assure you on either of those two, but I can say this, we need them for economic security. So Trump is not giving any assurance he will not use his U.S. military force to take possession of Greenland and the Panama Canal. Also on Tuesday, Trump took a shot at Mexico by saying he is renaming the Gulf of Mexico, quoting Trump, the Gulf of America. What a beautiful name. So that's how the Canadian CBC reported that story. And here's a similar news report from a U.S. news source. President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday mused on renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, among a flurry of topics in a freewheeling news conference at Mar-a-Lago less than 2 weeks before he takes office. Trump laid out his desire to acquire Greenland and the Panama Canal, not ruling out using the military. As he discussed his desire for U.S. control of Greenland and the Panama Canal, Trump mused on changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Quote, what a beautiful name, and it's appropriate, he said. Asked by a reporter if Trump would commit to not using military force in his quest to acquire the foreign territories of the Panama Canal and Greenland, Trump notably did not rule it out. Quote, "No, I can't assure you, but I can say this. We need them." Trump also floated the possibility of imposing tariffs at a very high level on Denmark to acquire Greenland, claiming Denmark might not have any legal right to Greenland. As Trump spoke, his oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., was in Greenland for what he claimed was a personal visit. And on the heels of Trump's announcement on Tuesday to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, House Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has swiftly served up legislation to enact Trump's plan. Late on Tuesday, she released the text of the proposal, indicating in a statement that it will be filed on Thursday morning. The Gulf of Mexico shall be known as the Gulf of America. The text of the proposal reads in part, calling for federal documents and maps to be updated accordingly. Quoting Greene, "The American people are footing the bill to protect and secure the maritime waterways for commerce to be conducted. Our U.S. Armed Forces protect the area from any military threats from foreign countries, so it's our Gulf. The rightful name is the Gulf of America, and it's what the entire world should call it. We will file first thing Thursday morning." Other GOP lawmakers also jumped on the Gulf of America bandwagon after Trump's announcement. In a post on X, Representative Greg Steube of Florida invited people to visit our beautiful district and take a dip in the Gulf of America. Representative Barry Moore of Alabama declared on X, "Proud to represent Alabama's 1st District on the beautiful Gulf of America." And Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama noted in a post, quote, "Alabamians know just how important the Gulf and Gulf Coast are for our great country. The Gulf of America sounds pretty good to me." Later on Tuesday, Trump again said that Canada should become the 51st state, sharing maps showing Canada as part of the United States. Trump shared a pair of posts on his social media platform, Truth Social, on Tuesday night, one with a map of the United States and Canada with United States written across the two countries, and another post with the U.S. and Canada covered in an American flag. "Oh, Canada," he wrote in one post. In another post, he said, quote, "The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threat of the Russian and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. Together, what a great nation it would be," said Trump. Trump has been floating the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state and posting a doctored photo of him standing beside a Canadian flag on top of a mountain. Trump has repeatedly referred to Trudeau as governor, even while Trump has been pushing for Denmark to sell the North Atlantic island of Greenland to the U.S. Now, brothers and sisters, so many people think this is all just crazy stuff, just lunatic ravings. Trump is a madman, yes, but he is Satan's madman. And all of this is part of Satan's plan to build his final one world order. A world under the rule of one man is coming, and we believe the time is here. Only those of us who believe Bible prophecy, only we understand how serious all this talk really is. As I said at the beginning of this video, this is the beginning, the consolidation of the North American and Central American Dominion, which is one of the 10 world regions set forth by the United Nations years ago. Over 5 years ago, I made a video about the 10 world regions and the 10 kings described in the book of Revelation, the 10 kings represented by the 10 horns of the beast, the Antichrist. In this video, I try to explain how the Bible tells us how these things will unfold. I want to close this video by showing you a brief 7-minute clip from that video. The book of Daniel, chapter 11 and verse 38, says the world leader who exalts himself, speaking of the Antichrist, will honor a God of forces. The Hebrew word here translated forces literally means fortifications, strongholds, or fortresses. In other words, military bases. The Antichrist will honor the God of fortresses, the God of war. This is Satan. Besides the untold number of military bases within the borders of the USA, the American empire also has over 800 foreign military bases that occupy 80 foreign nations. And a total of 156 nations in the world today are occupied to some extent with U.S. troops. That's 80% of all world nations. Stop and think about that for 1 minute. 4 out of 5 nations in the world today are occupied with U.S. troops. On one end of the spectrum, some occupied nations have only a small number of U.S. troops. On the other end of the spectrum, some nations have many U.S. military bases all across their country. But 4 out of 5 nations have U.S. troops occupying their country. How many foreign troops do you think occupy the United States? 0. The American military empire literally dominates the earth. Who can make war with the beast? The book of Revelation tells us the Antichrist, the beast out of the sea, will rule the entire world, all people of all languages and nationalities. He will begin his reign as the national leader of the most powerful empire in all of world history. The prophet Daniel described this final day's empire as an invincible empire, devouring the whole earth, trampling the earth and breaking it into pieces, bringing the whole world into subjection. The Antichrist will go out conquering and to conquer, and a new world order will emerge. He will attack the strongest fortresses with the help of a foreign god and will greatly honor those who acknowledge him, making them rulers over many. The fourth beast of Daniel's visions has 10 horns. The 17th chapter of Revelation tells us these 10 horns are 10 kings who will receive their power as kings with the beast. The Antichrist will greatly honor these 10 men who acknowledge him as the world ruler. The Antichrist will make them rulers over many. Daniel 11:39. And they in turn will give their power and support to strengthen the Antichrist. The United Nations has already subdivided the world into 10 preparatory regional groupings of nations. You can research more about the 10 world regions and mankind at the Turning Point, a Club of Rome report. Sitting upon the waters in the heart of the city of Babylon, the home of the Antichrist, New York City, the United Nations will serve its purpose, joining with the beast. After all, who can make war with the beast? Then will be fulfilled the prophecy of Daniel. I considered the 10 horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Daniel 7:8. After the 10 kings are in place, then the Antichrist will rise to his ultimate global power. He will no longer be merely a national leader of the U.S. empire. As the American empire devours the whole earth, treads it down, and breaks it in pieces, the commander-in-chief of this mighty military empire will have the support of these 10 regional world kings. For again, who can make war with the beast? They will give their power and authority to the beast. But in time, 3 of these 10 kings will rebel against the Antichrist, no doubt due to his insolence. They will think to overturn his one world empire. But the Antichrist will use his mighty military machine to uproot the 3 rebel kings. Remember, it's the devastating wars of the Antichrist that will initiate these monumental changes upon the earth. Chapter 6 of Revelation tells us when the very first seal is opened, the rider on the white horse comes forth. The Antichrist is revealed. He will emerge to be a conqueror who makes war. Then the second seal is opened, and the third and the fourth. War, famine, death. Enormous change is coming upon the face of the earth as a result of cataclysmic war, famine, and death. But this is the beginning, not the ending. Jesus said, "And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet."